Hi everyone, Tom here from itContracting. Welcome back to the first video of our recruitment series in 2019. Today we're going to be covering a topic that I'm sure everyone has heard of, but maybe if you've not been really engaged in searching for a new role, for example, in a while, it might be something that you haven't given too much thought to, but you might be looking at new roles in 2019. And this could become very relevant to you. And so that is a topic around counter-offering. Now, counter-offering is nothing new. It's always been a feature of recruitment and the employment market. When somebody looks to leave a job, their employer is very likely to try and keep them. And to try and keep them, they're going to offer some kind of incentive, whether that's an increase in salary or overall package, or the promise of a promotion, new job title, greater responsibilities, more projects, a team to hire. Any one of those, or a combination of them, or all of them, are things that we've seen in terms of counter-offering. Why we decided to cover this topic now is that counter-offers are becoming more and more common, and whereby once employers might have actually said, no, we will not have a culture of counter-offering, everybody, because of the market, because of the skills shortage, is faced with the possibility of needing to counter-offer in order to keep staff, because if they lose staff, it's becoming harder and harder to recruit more staff. Also, what we're seeing is that the level of counter-offers that are coming through, whether, as I said, if it's salary or package or a combination of other things, are becoming, for want of a better word, more aggressive. So if people are highly skilled in the IT market and they are looking, there is a very good chance that they will probably receive a counter-offer from their current employer, and if they're interviewing elsewhere, they might receive counter-offers from other employers as well. So it's not unfeasible, it's not implausible that somebody who is now looking for a new role may find themselves with 3-4 offers on the table. But we'll just take the simple example for the time being of you've handed in your notice and your manager says, what can we do about this? Can I talk to HR? Can we see if we can put something in front of you that might entice you to stay? Now, counter-offers are challenging for both the employee and the employer. They can throw you, as the employee, as the job seeker, into a lot of doubt. It can be quite difficult to hear, especially if somebody is going to try and aggressively keep you, to potentially undermine or question your motives for moving, or question the merits of the company or the role that you're going to. And that can throw a lot of doubt in to what could have been a very seamless process up until that point. Now, your manager may make a counter-offer for a number of reasons. The primary reason, which a lot of people don't talk about, is that they genuinely want to keep you in the company. They will genuinely feel the loss of you moving. And it won't just be from a point of view of needing to replace you and having to find a suitably skilled person to replace you, which is increasingly difficult in this market. It might be that they feel this acutely. You've become part of the organization. You may have been there many years, or even if you've been there short term, if you've had a very, very big impact in that time, it can create a genuine sense that they don't want to lose you. However, there is a risk that we've seen that perhaps, to refer to maybe an elephant in the room here, that maybe some people have used the prospect of a counter-offer as a means of getting salary increases. They have no real intention of moving. They really just want to see a salary increase. Now, this raises a couple of questions. If your employer is willing to counter-offer you and offer you more money, why has it taken you the action of handing in your notice or saying you're going to leave for your employer to maybe offer you what you've been asking for maybe some time? It's a big question to ask yourself. Is this a good motivation to stay if my employer was not prepared to actually fulfill this or work with me on this throughout the last year or 2 years or 3 years or whatever time frame it might be? It's a big question to ask yourself. So what is the motivation? The motivation is that they want to keep you in the organization, possibly because they can't immediately replace you. There might be projects that you're working on that are ongoing that will be jeopardized by you leaving. And also they know it might actually cost them more money to hire someone to replace you than it would to counteroffer you. And perhaps if you are in two minds as to whether moving on is the right decision, listen to a counteroffer if your manager asks, is that something that, you'd be interested in and staying if they could find the right thing for you? Then by all means, absolutely listen to it, because it could, in that time that it might take for them to put a counteroffer together for you, it gives you time to think a little bit more. It gives you time to to mull over whether you're making the right decision. And also when that counteroffer is presented to you, it might confirm your doubts and push you to stay, or it might actually confirm that moving on is the right thing to do. Now, we've talked a little bit about, what a counteroffer might look like, for example, in terms of salary or benefits. What if you were to accept a counteroffer and not go with the job that you've been interviewing for and perhaps prepared yourself to move to? Well, there's a general statistic. Now, you could take or leave this, obviously, within the recruitment industry and employment industry and HR, where there's an observation that people who accept counteroffers are probably going to leave anyway within or around 6 months from accepting a counteroffer. Now, is that true? I would say there's a lot of evidence to support that people leave at some point within a relatively short time frame, certainly. So what are some of the reasons why? Why would people leave anyway after accepting a counteroffer? Well, as I said, these things are not the same for everyone. But it might be that your manager or your employer does view that there's a potential that you might move on at some point, that you might not be there for the long haul. And those projects that they promised you or the growth that they promised you doesn't quite materialize, because if they put you on a very important high-profile project and you leave, it potentially leaves them more vulnerable. I'm not saying that's always going to be the case, but these things do creep in potentially. And also, you need to think about what it was that motivated you to embark on a new job-seeking process and talk to a new potential employer and receive an offer and hand in your notice in the first place. What was it that you were unfulfilled by in your current role? Was it that you were just potentially tired of where you were, maybe? Is it that you didn't get the projects or the recognition, or you just felt that for the right growth in your career, it was better sought outside of your current employer rather than inside your current employer? Those feelings, just because of potentially a counteroffer or a higher salary or whatever it might look like, don't necessarily go away. They might resurface again. And that might take 6 months. And it can take that sort of time for those feelings to start coming back. And therefore the process starts all over again. So are there any particular steps that you can take that will make handling a counteroffer easier? Is there a good way to handle them? I think a lot of it is preparation at the very start of a job-seeking process. Make sure that you're entering into a new job-seeking process for the best motivations, for the right reasons. Spend some time, write down the pros and cons of where you are currently, about your current employer, about your current role, about how you feel about it. Weigh those up. Make sure that in terms of the role you want next and the employer you want next and the type of company, what you're going to be doing, hits all of those addresses all of those negative points about where you are at the moment, addresses some of those cons, but also carries on those positives, that you're not just replacing one set of negative things with another set of negative things. And think about whether having another conversation with your manager before you start looking at new roles is a good idea. Is it a good idea to go and talk to them about any concerns you have? Absolutely. Address what is potentially affecting you or making you feel potentially not looking for a new job. Address that with your manager before you start a process. It can be enlightening. It can reinforce the fact that you do need to look around, or it can maybe reinforce that you need to stay. In any event, though, give yourself time. You might be going through a recruiter, or you might be going directly in terms of your job search, and there will always be pressure for you to make a decision. There'll be pressure from potentially a future employer. Might be pressure from your employee, from your current employer. Give yourself time. Do not be afraid to ask for a few days to think about things. Yes, it might frustrate a few people, but ultimately it's your career, it's your decision. You have every right to take that time. And ultimately they should plan for you to take that time. And if they don't, well, look, that might just be what it is, but give yourself that time to prepare for things and to make sure you're making the right decision for you and for your career. So, best of luck for 2019. If you have any questions on this, or you want to discuss this in more detail, or you've been faced with this situation before, or you might be faced with this situation in the coming months or even years, and you want some advice and you want to talk to someone who knows the industry and knows maybe some things to do, give us a call. Go onto our website and ask for advice from the recruitment industry and the HR industry. There's a lot of very, very wise people out there who can help you in your process. So thanks again, everyone, for watching. If you're watching on YouTube as normal, please like and subscribe, and we hope to see you again in our next video. Thank you.